having this conversation with a foreign national or a foreigner.
Sure.
So help us get a sense of why we should be patriotic, for starters.
Okay, patriotism is important. We were having this conversation last week, and we mentioned patriotism, and I said that the reason why a lot of people are not patriotic is because their ideology of what the nation is a lot of them think the nation are the leaders. The nation is the government, but unfortunately that is not the case. The nation is you and I, and when we are patriotic is for the betterment of you and I. When we make a decision to love, understand, cherish, honor and respect each other, then we are respecting the nation. The nation is not a geographical area. The nation is not the infrastructures we have. The nation is you and I. Without you and I, then there is no nation. But when there is you and I, when there are the people, it is the human beings that make up the community, that make up the nation. So when we love, respect, honor ourselves, then generally patriotism is the ability to love, respect, and honor one another.
Okay. To love, to respect, and honor one another.
Yes.
So that applies to even our leaders too, to respect them, to love them. I definitely will come back to this, but help us get sense of, how one can be, or the significance of, being patriotic as a people.
Okay, one of the things that it does is, it is difficult to bring about progress in a nation if the people are not united. Can two work together except they agree? If two people do not agree, it is difficult for them to pursue a particular goal. You see that? So what it does is that first it unites us as a people. When we are patriotic, when we make that decision to love ourselves instead of fight against each other or kill each other, we are united. You see that? Now, when we are united, we can promote national development.
Okay.
When we don't agree on something, we're always fighting each other because of ignorance. We cannot move forward. We cannot bring about the development of the nation. But when we make a decision to love, respect, honor each other, then the nation will move forward. We will develop the nation as much as possible.
All right.
You see that?
Any other significance or importance?
So it inspires sacrifice. What do I mean? When we talk about building a nation or developing a nation, people have to make sacrifices. Sacrifices in what way? Discipline, right? That, for example, a person might feel they want to, let's say, let's use something as basic as the traffic light. You are in a hurry to go somewhere, you want to do something, or you just feel like driving fast or something like that. Now, it is a sacrifice for you to discipline yourself and not beat that traffic light.
Okay.
It is a sacrifice.
Okay.
Yes. So, patriotism helps us deny ourselves of certain pleasures just to see to the nation moves forward. For example, paying your taxes. For example, patronizing local vendors. You see,
Made in Nigeria
goods, made in Nigeria, musicians and all of that.
Okay.
You see that? So you can decide to patronize maybe someone abroad or a brand abroad, but you can make that sacrifice. Okay, let me go ahead and patronize my own people instead of the usual pleasuring myself to patronize people abroad.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'll just have you hold your thought. Let's just go pay this bill very quickly. When we come back, the conversation will continue, and I'd like to encourage you, dear listener, to be part of the conversation. Call in and indulge us. Help us get sense of how patriotic you are as a citizen. I'll hand down the studio lines for you just after this commercial timeout. Do join us again.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Hello, Nigeria. Hello, Africa. Do you want to work in the healthcare sector? Do you want to be a trained, certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, or caregiver? If yes, then register to enroll for Push Africa's one-year diploma in certified nursing assistance training happening at the African University College of Science and Technology, Abuja. Targeted trainees are unemployed graduates, O-level or ordinary diploma graduates, or anyone interested in working as a support worker in the healthcare sector. For details, log on to www.pushafrica.org or WhatsApp 080-339-42015, 080-339-42015. For registration, pick up application form at our partner radio stations or visit the reception at the African University of Science and Technology, Abuja.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
All right, we're back. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you are just joining us, this is National Core Values live on Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja, your radio experience that you can always count on. And I have my guest with me in the studios this afternoon, the person of Innocent, or Obasi Innocent, right? A representative of Generation for Societal Change. And we'd like you to know that the conversation is live on YouTube and Facebook. Do well to, join us, share your thoughts with us, and do well to share the video as well. It's very important. But most importantly, we'd like you to call in and also share your thoughts with us, because this is something that a number of Nigerians actually have reservations on. Yeah. So you can call us on 090-7353-0044 or 090-8766-8888. Send a voice note or a message to the WhatsApp portal number, and that will be 0909-705-4450. How patriotic are you as a citizen? So before that commercial timeout, you were trying to help us get sense of the significance or the importance of being patriotic. You talked about how much it would unite us. And it somewhat inspires, sacrifice for the common good. And I'm just going to, have you dwell a little bit more on that, aspect of sacrifice. You said something about, you used the traffic, signs or rules as a case study, but it appears the sacrifice that we must make, to bring about the common good for the whole nation and its dignity is relegated to maybe just the masses. You know what I'm saying this? Beating traffic is not just the average Nigerian on the street that should respect the traffic rules or the signs. Haven't you seen elites who'd beat traffic because they're probably in a hurry or something, especially when they are moving in a convoy? So how would you speak to that? So
that what you have said is true, right? And what we are speaking about today is for everybody. Be you the elite, be you the masses, whoever it is you are. But it is one person at a time. Transformation is one person at a time, as I would say. As we are airing this today, a lot of people are listening to us. Some of them, as you say, the masses, some of them the elites. And it is a responsibility of everybody. The moment you have this ideology and the feeling and the ability to love your nation, you will do what is right without supervision. This is what we're talking about. You will do what is right without supervision. And let me tell you the truth. When majority of the masses begin to do what is right, the leaders, the so-called elites, will feel foolish doing what is wrong.
So we don't have to wait for our leaders to set the pace for us?
We don't have to. Everybody in their own area, in their own capacity is a leader. I said that last time. So begin to do what you can do where you are. Over time, it will spread across the nation. When more people, children, adolescents, adults begin to subscribe to this idea of patriotism, a time will come. It will become so prevalent that elites, so-called leaders, will feel foolish to break the law, or will feel foolish to do these things that you just mentioned. For example, the traffic light.
All right, let's take this call. Hello and good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, welcome on board. What's your name and where you're calling from? What's your name?
Monica from Apo.
Okay, Monica from Apo. Can you be more audible? Is that okay by you?
Okay. But there's a thing that said leadership starts by example, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So if there's
Oh, Monica, please do well to call back. All right. Hello. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name and where you're calling from? Hello. Are you there? Hello. Good afternoon to you. Are you there? All right. Please do us a call back. I'm sure the network reception is trying to do the most, but regardless, you have to keep trying. I'm sure you would get across pretty soon. Good afternoon to you. Hello. Aha. I'll quickly, hand down the numbers again. 09087668888 or 09073530044. If you're having a hard time trying to call in, please revert to the portal number and perhaps leave a voice note or a message. The WhatsApp portal number is 09097054 and 50. I'm sorry. Please continue.
All right. So the lady who called first, I believe what she was trying to ask was, she said leadership starts by example, right?
Yeah.
And I believe what she was driving at, I hope I'm not mistaken, is that our leaders,
The top to bottom approach.
yes, so our leaders should be patriotic
Yeah.
first before we are patriotic.
The masses, right?
In as much as in some scenarios that is true, and it is good that our leaders need to be patriotic. However, we must not wait for our leaders to be patriotic before we are patriotic.
Okay, so still maintaining the scenario I just, painted.
Yes.
So would you have me driving on the road and then I have some elite, people who are occupying elective, positions. They're probably in a convoy.
Yeah.
They're trying to beat the traffic, and then I'm actually ahead of them, and I'm trying to no, we need to do the right thing.
Oh yes, if you are ahead of them, and that is what I was trying to say, right? That when the masses, a good number of the masses, begin to do what is right, right? The elites will have no option but to follow you. For example, you are on a lane, right? And you are in front, and there is an elite behind you, and it's obvious the traffic light said stop.
Stop, yeah.
You stop. You who is in front, you stop. The elite behind you waits.
With all the siren.
They would wait.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
Except it's an emergency, and when it's an emergency, it is usually our ambulances, or if it's you see the law enforcement agencies, it's obvious that it's an emergency, then of course the law demands that you leave the way. But if you see some young politician somewhere who is just being arrogant and wants to beat, everybody waits.
Okay. So help us get sense of more, reasons why it's okay for us, or it's just appropriate for us to be patriotic. I mean, across board.
One of the other thing that is a reason why we should be patriotic is that it's an advantage because it builds our identity as a people. Now, unfortunately, and with all due respect, globally speaking, you would see Nigerians are seen as though we bring some negative vibe too. That is gradually changing because there are a lot of Nigerians who are doing so well, who are people of integrity and are honest and are doing well, right? But over time, Nigerians who've had this negative identity over time. But when we are patriotic, because patriotism makes you want to do the right thing. Patriotism makes you want to make your country better. Patriotism makes you want to represent your country correctly. So when we are patriotic enough on a global scale, our identity becomes that of a positive identity and not negative. That people would see it as an honor and a privilege to have a Nigerian in their midst, than that when they see a Nigerian, it becomes something that, okay, we are not sure, should we be careful about this guy or whatnot. You see that? And this happens in every sphere, even outside the nation Nigeria. So one thing it does is that it promotes that positive identity for the country, and it's an advantage. When the country has a negative identity, it is difficult for we as Nigerians to have better opportunities outside.
Okay, so help us get sense now of how I can actually show patriotism as an individual.
Okay, one of the things you should do is honor the laws of the nation.
Okay.
Honor the laws, honor and respect the laws of the nation. We were making use of the traffic light, yeah, even things as paying your taxes, You see, things as sanitation.
All
Okay,
right.
go on.
Let's take this call. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, are you there?
Hello.
Good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon to you.
Yes. What's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Shedra. I'm calling from Tokolo.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, I disagree with your guest too.
Okay.
Because the law starts from the leader, you understand. When you say, when you say the lady masses, you say something about because there's a day, let me tell you a story, there's a day they're waiting for a traffic. We are there almost 10 minutes. So before you know what's happening, this house of railway was coming. Before you know, this man overtake. Everybody was waiting for traffic. Before you know what's happening, this man overtake traffic. Before you know, some people starting overtaking the traffic every day. You understand? So when you say the law start from the example starts from the leader. When they say Nigeria, why they look us Nigeria say patriotism is for the leader. Everything starts from the leader. As far for the leader, you want to example you are a leader before the masses not fully, because when you overtake, the masses are going to join you and overtake it.
Okay.
So I disagree with him to say when you say let the masses start. What to when we see the masses can start, why we having a leader? Why we having all those people that responsible? Okay, there's no job for that to protect us now.
Okay, thank you very much for your observation. Thank you. I'm sure my guest will react to it. Okay. So, would you want to react to that now, or
Do we have another call?
no? Not
Okay.
yet.
All right. Let me react to that. Now, you have spoken very well, profoundly, and just to throw more light on what I meant. What I meant is not that the leader shouldn't take responsibility and become patriotic and do the right thing. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have been waiting for them to do the right thing for decades and decades and decades, and our nation is still the way it is. What I'm saying is that we should have another approach to patriotism, and that approach is that we are not being our patriotism is not dependent on how our leaders behave or operate. That a leader flouts the law or does not abide by the law shouldn't mean that we shouldn't abide by the law. In the scenario he gave, right? If all of us who are not maybe in government and we are in that traffic, if we have made a decision, intentional decision, like renewed our minds and said we are going to be patriotic and do the right thing, that leader beats the traffic light, right? And we all remain, we are not moving. The leader can be foolish enough to beat it, with all due respect, but we are staying. We are making a decision to be patriotic, even when the leader doesn't want to be patriotic.
And it will send a signal to
It will send a signal. We keep repeating it over time. It begins to spread everywhere across the nation. The leaders in government,
All right, thank you so much for addressing that observation made by that caller. You too can be part of the conversation by calling us on 09073530044 or 09087668888. So we're talking about how we can show patriotism. I mean, before that call came in.
Okay, another way we must do this is to be informed and involved.
Okay.
Be informed. Learn more about your nation, learn more about what is happening in the country, and find a way to participate, find a way to be involved. For example, Generation for Societal Change. We're talking about the values of the nation. Why? Because we have seen the decadence in the nation and people who are not abiding by these values, and we've seen the profitability of people abiding by these values, and we've made an intentional decision to be involved and see how much we can contribute to making the nation better. You see that? So be informed and involved, know what is happening, and try as much as possible to help. Another is to promote peace and unity. As much people, wherever you find yourself, be it in your workplace, be it in your religious organization, schools, wherever you find yourself, try as much as possible to encourage dialogue. Try as much as possible to encourage respect and honor between two individuals that might be from two different places. You see, stay away from any and everything that will bring about fight. Promote peace and unity. When there is peace and unity, we can do better. But when there is fight, cannot move forward except they agree.
Right.
You see that. Another important thing is supporting local products and innovation. We talked about that already. Right. A lot of people, because of the narrative and the idea they have about the nation, they don't see it as an advantage to patronize locally made goods, locally made foods. You see, and let me also use this opportunity to encourage vendors who are within the nation. Let's try as much as possible to make our products up to standard.
I was going to talk about that.
Oh yes, let us try as much as possible to make our products and services up to standard, so that even when a person, because what we're trying to do now is to convince the people, talk to them, influence them enough to make this decision. So when they make this decision and decide to patronize locally made goods, they should not be disappointed. Because there are some people who are actually doing so well. The products they are making are up to standard, some even above standard.
Right.
You see, but because of this narrative, people are not so patriotic. People don't see it as an advantage to patronize, so they don't patronize. But as we are lending our voice now, we believe that our listeners will start patronizing locally made. But however, whoever is being patronized should do their best to see to it that whatever they are offering
is up to standard.
Up to standard.
Okay.
Yes.
So, dear listener, are you a vendor? Are you a manufacturer? Tell us, help us get sense of the reception you've been getting from, fellow Nigerians. I mean, when they approach you, they want to patronize you. What are some of those passive comments that they make concerning the product that you are selling? Because some would say, oh, this made in Nigeria. Some would particularly look out for the tag, or made in Nigeria. This one should be substandard. And the idea of making or producing fake products just to make quick gains, it's like a trend right now, really. And we must also give kudos to NAFDAC, by the way, for always going all out to ensure that the right thing is done in that regards. But if you're listening out there and this actually bothers you, please do well to call in and talk to us about it. Don't forget that we're trying to champion a cause, in the course of this conversation. So you said something about unity, promoting unity, peace and unity. I'd like to ask you, do you think we're united at the moment?
To some extent. The problem is, and now with all due respect, right? The challenge is largely ignorance. You would hardly see people who are well schooled, people who, now when I say well schooled, I don't mean that they have a certificate. I mean people who are exposed,
right?
People who are really exposed. You will hardly see them fight over some of these things that we usually hear in the news, like religion, like tribalism and all of that, because their mindset and their focus and their goal is towards something larger, it's towards something bigger. But when you see the average person who maybe is not so exposed, if you sit within their conversation, you would usually hear them apportioning blames to people, to a certain ethnic group, that is the reason why Nigeria is the way it is, that is the reason why this and that is happening. But if you are really exposed to a certain degree, you would see that to some extent what they are saying is not so correct. You see, so in their ignorance, when they begin to make these statements, from there you see someone saying, oh, you are from this tribe, oh, you guys are doing this, and from that somebody is fighting the other person, and it becomes a full-blown war. You see that?
Okay.
So it is important that we promote peace and unity.
And in the bid to do that, we have to distance, one's religion or the tribe the person is from, especially when having conversations, right?
In the grand scheme of things, let me be very honest with you, these things do not matter a lot. When it comes to building the nation, really building the nation, these things do not matter as much as we think they matter.
Okay.
Now, religion, tribalism, or being from a particular ethnic group, these things should be an advantage. When you are coming from a religious background, or in your church or in your mosque, if truly these circles or these fairs are really doing their job, one of their responsibility is to make the citizens become better versions of themselves.
So are you by implication saying that our religious leaders are not doing enough in that
They-
regard?
they-
or
now-
even our traditional leaders?
Now, all of the leaders in all of their spheres, in all of our spheres, we are contributing as much as we can. But if we're saying where we are going to, we are not yet there. We are not yet there. We are far from the destination. There is still a lot of work to do when it comes to making the minds of our people think better, do better, make better decisions. We are far from there.
Okay.
We can see results, right? There are a lot of results. People are not. If you listen to the news, you would see that there has been a reduction in some of these disunity, some of these wars and fights compared to what it used to be. Compared to what
Okay.
it used to be.
That's relative.
Compared to what it used to be. All right. But now, currently, you see more people being enlightened.
Okay.
More people are learning, but there is still room for improvement. That is my point. There is still room for improvement.
Okay.
Yes.
So my inability to recite the national anthem, for example, does that make me an unpatriotic citizen?
To some degree.
Why is that?
To some degree. One of the ways you show that you are patriotic, or you involve yourself in what we call patriotism, is that you know the symbols of the nation, you know the identity of the nation, and one of the symbols and the identity of the nation is the national anthem. So someone who is truly interested in the nation. For example, if I were to be in a relationship with a person, have an emotional connection, really loves, respects, and honors a person, I would like to know as much as I need to know about that person.
Right.
The same thing with a country. If you say you love your country, you love any country in the world, or you love anything in the world, one of the proof of love is knowledge, wanting to know, desire to know more about this nation. So when you say you truly love your nation and you want the nation to be better,
No, but some are saying that, I mean, there are more pressing issues to deal with.
Yes.
Hunger, poverty.
now,
So
now,
the time you're supposed to use to chase money, you're using to, memorize the national anthem.
now this is a subject that we must talk about, but it would be another day.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you see, this issue of maybe the time you need to chase, are you chasing money every single second of your life, that you would not maybe take out a few minutes, or at least listen to one or two things happening in the nation, or just Google something? It is love, and that is where sacrifice comes into, right? This thing has to be an intentional decision.
Okay.
You really have to be intentional when a person says they love. One of the proof of love is sacrifice.
Right.
When you say you love a person or you love a thing, the next thing that follows is sacrifice.
Okay, I agree with you. I think this is probably going to be like a conversation on
Oh,
its
yes.
own,
Oh,
and
yes.
I'll leave that to you to
Oh,
work
yes.
towards it.
Oh, yes.
But speaking of love,
Yeah.
you started off by saying, loving, respecting, and honoring,
Yeah.
So how much love do you think Nigerians actually have for, let's say, the president as we speak?
I would not be able to say definitely, but from what I've seen, from the perspective of a lot of people and the results I've seen so far, I would say not so much.
But why is that?
Because of so far, from what we are experiencing in the nation, we would say that the government has not done enough to see to it that the nation is better or the nation is doing well. You see, the government is contributing, has done some things, but talking about what the people are going through currently, the nation has not done so much. So I would say that a majority of the people in the nation do not love the president, as you have said, so much.
Okay,
As an
so
answer to you.
that is somewhat, connected to living by example, I believe.
Yes, living by example. Remember what I said, right? Let us not always focus on
The leaders.
government as Nigeria, because we are. If that is the case, then we are not touching all the aspects.
Okay.
Because you would see someone now in your community, you don't know who is who, you don't care about anybody, you don't ask how are you doing, you are unpatriotic. So a person would use the leaders, the government, as an excuse to be unpatriotic in their own community and neighborhood. That is wrong.
Okay.
So I want us to change the mentality. It is not, the government is not the nation. The government is not Nigeria. The government has a lot of role to play in making Nigeria a better place. I don't disagree with that. And we also encourage them, whenever we find the opportunity, we encourage them to do their best, to do their work, to do better, because they are not doing as much as we expect, right? However, we as citizens in our own little community, for example, the queues in the banks, right? There are people that come into the bank, and instead of joining the queue, you see a queue already existing. Instead of joining the queue and just waiting for your turn, they want to bypass and go, and every other person who is on the queue does not know what they're doing.
Right.
Now, there is no president there. There is no local government chairman there.
Right.
It is we citizens. So if we are patriotic enough, everybody will be sane enough to join the queue. And you see decorum and a serene environment even in our banks. For example,
Civilized people.
as civilized
that we
people.
claim to be.
Exactly.
All right.
So there is no president or governor or whoever in that space now. It's just you and I.
Okay.
So let us not always point fingers at the government. Let us start to do what we can do from where we are.
Absolutely. Time is not our friend, unfortunately. But patriotism, they say, starts with you, with myself, with Innocent, and each and every one of us. All right. And it's not just for the soldiers or politicians, it's for every citizen. And if we truly love Nigeria, we will think right, speak right and act right. Let us not wait for change. Let us be the change that our nation, needs at this point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, when you travel out of the country, what are you saying about Nigeria? Some vloggers, I have seen YouTube vlogs, they say, you are like this here. If we're to be in my country, you're somewhat demonizing the system that we have here. Consciously or not, but you must take note of these things, honestly. And the way we present ourselves is just the way the international community would address us. Thank you very much, Innocent Obasi, for this very mind-blowing topic, the power of patriotism, loving and building our nation. Obasi Innocent is a representative of Generation for Societal Change. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. And for the listener out there, would like to encourage you to have a playback on Facebook and YouTube. Leave a comment and do well to share this video, because it's very important, because the change we're actually clamoring for, it starts with you, it starts with me, and you sharing this video actually is just a way of being patriotic, because we need people in even the remote areas to get to know that they have a role to play, as far as bringing about a better Nigeria is concerned. My name is Omoefe Peace Osemere, and it's already 2 minutes gone past the hour of 1 p.m. I will be treating you to old school music for the old and the old at heart. Stay on the dial.
Competitions? They don't exist. With Eagles, you